One of the kits included in the Bulge German release wave is the Panther Late and Jagdpanther plastic kit. This is actually a re-release, not a new kit. It dates all the way back to 2012. I know because I still have some I bought from back then. So let's take a walk down memory lane and check out the Panther G and Jagdpanther plastic kit from Battlefront. This is my ancient old box of GBX-84 Panther Jagdpanther platoon. As I said, this kit dates back to 2012, and so does this box. But this kit is being re-released as part of the late war Bulge German forces. It's part of the new heavy Tank-Hunter Kampfgruppe starter box set, and will be released on their own in the Panther Late tank platoon box. You get 3 in the starter box and 5 in the platoon box. I've built this kit and it goes together fine. Just be aware that being an early kit, there's a lot more parts here than you'd find in a recent Battlefront plastic kit. Let's look at some history. Panther, or the Panzer Kampfwagen 5, resulted from a 1938 project to build a successor to the Panzer III and IV. The project gained impetus in 1942 as German forces encountered T-34s and KV series tanks in Russia. Designed by MAN, Panther was rushed into service for the Battle of Kursk in mid-1943. Limited training and technical issues with the new design led to breakdowns and heavy losses. Despite weighing 45 tons, comparable to heavy tank designs of other nations, Panther was classified as a medium tank. Much of this weight was armour. Panther had thick front armour and used sloping, interlocking plates to maximise the effective armour thickness. Side armour was thinner to try and keep the weight down. However, shortages of strategic metals like tungsten and molybdenum meant German armour alloys became increasingly brittle towards the end of the war. Panther was armed with a powerful 7.5cm gun. The high muzzle velocity made the 7.5cm gun as effective as the Tiger's 8.8cm weapon, and the flat trajectory of the AP rounds made it very accurate. The main gun had a coaxial MG-34 machine gun, with another located in a hull mount at the radio operator's position. Powered by a V12 Maybach engine, Panther had a torsion bar suspension system with large interleaved road wheels. While interweaved wheels gave good flotation and a smooth ride, they tended to clog with mud, which could freeze solid in cold weather conditions. The initial production batch of 842 Panthers were the Panther D. This was replaced by the Panther A in mid-1943, and the final version the Panther G in 1944. In all, nearly 6,000 Panthers of all types were built. Design and manufacturing issues with the initial design were ironed out, but sabotage by slave labour factory workers and shortages caused by Allied bombing were a constant problem. Panther was a complex design, although in the end it cost only a little more to produce than a Panzer IV, and half as much as a Tiger. The design served on the Eastern Front as well as in northwest Europe and Italy. Existing Allied tanks had trouble penetrating Panther's thick armour, and could usually be engaged by the German tanks outside their own effective range. This made Panthers hard to deal with until 76mm armed Shermans and 17-pounder equipped Fireflies became available. Higher caliber towed and self-propelled AT guns were also effective, particularly as improved armour-piercing ammunition became more readily available. Panthers remained in production until the end of the war. Captured examples were heavily studied, and France used 50 Panthers in their post-war armoured forces until they could be replaced by indigenous designs. Jagdpanther is a heavy tank destroyer built on the Panther hull. Tank destroyers can mount larger guns than turreted tanks, and Jagdpanther was armed with the 8.8cm PaK-43, the same gun as the King Tiger. The glacis plate and hull sides extended up to form the casemate walls, all as continuous interlocking pieces of armour. 80mm of front armour gives Jagdpanther good protection to go along with the firepower of the big 8.8cm gun. 415 Jagdpanthers were produced. Many served on the Eastern Front, with only a few encountered in Normandy, but Jagdpanthers were later employed in significant numbers during the Battle of the Bulge. Let's look at the plastic. The Jagdpanther comes on 2 sprues. My old ones are moulded in grey plastic, but I'm guessing the new ones will be yellow. One sprue is the tracks, guns, hatches and some stowage. This was originally designed as a plastic detail part for resin Panther and Jagdpanther kits. The other sprue comes later and has the additional hull parts, turret and mantlet to make up a full all-plastic kit. The tracks are one-piece parts. This simplifies construction nicely. Road wheels are well moulded with some nice bolt detail. The tracks have strong waffle plate patterning on the visible portions of the track run. This becomes simplified underneath past the idler wheels. That's fine for a wargaming kit. This next section has both the 8.8cm gun of the Jagdpanther and the 7.5cm for the Panther turret. Both guns have a muzzle brake. You get two hull machine gun ball mounts here, moulded integral with the gun. One has Zimmerit patterning on it, but there's no corresponding Zimmerit hull for either vehicle in plastic. I guess this was a detail piece for a resin kit, but it's nice to have a spare in case you break a gun cutting it off the sprue. There's also a selection of spare track links and an optional stowage bin for the rear of the Jagdpanther casemate. The next segment over has a pair of side skirts. These are the early pattern side skirts. Side skirts are optional. Panther and Jagdpanther are regularly seen without them. The two circular hatches here are for the Jagdpanther hull over the commander's and loader's position. The other circular hatch is for the Panther. Be sure not to remove the mounting arm on this piece. It's what attaches the hatch to the coupler part and enables the hatch to work in the open or closed position. Next up is the coupler section. The Panther G uses the later rounded cast coupler. There's a locating pin underneath this that keys into the turret to get the orientation of the piece correct. There's a machine gun rail for the AA machine gun, but no gun is included in the kit. Panther crews usually had to dismount the hull MG34 from the ball mount to fit it to the AA rail in any case. You don't actually need this coupler piece to build the Panther. There's one moulded onto the turret. The two road wheels here are stowage, as are the spare track links. There's also 3 replacement fenders. Given the fenders are moulded integral with the plastic hull, you don't really need these ones. Finally, there's some exhausts. These are earlier pattern exhausts for the Panther D and Panther A models. There's a pair of single exhaust stacks and the 3-pronged exhaust. Unfortunately, the rear plate design of the plastic kit won't let you fit any of these without significant modification. I can only imagine again these parts were intended for resin kits, but useful for spares. Moving on to the second sprue, here's the Panther hull parts. The upper hull here is obviously for the Panther G. It has the later, simplified hinged hull hatches for the driver and radio operator. The driver has a fixed periscope in front of his position as well. The rear engine deck shows the raised air cleaner fan introduced on late Panthers. This protected an extra cooling duct that's venting more air into the engine compartment. The detail here is nice and crisp. Given this is a 10-year-old mould and one of Battlefront's first plastic kits, it holds up pretty well. However, the age of the engineering shows up on the lower hull. There's no keying here for the tracks. They just butt joint onto the hull. So take some time to get the alignment and orientation right here. The side skirts here have an issue. These are the later pattern hanger skirts for the Panther G, but there are 3 very obvious ejector pin marks right on the visible surfaces. You'll need to fill and sand these if you want to use these skirts. Frankly, I'd suggest using the earlier pattern skirts from the first sprue instead. This half of the sprue has some more spare track links and the gun mantlet. The mantlet is the G variant mantlet with the armoured chin under the gun. This eliminated a shot trap of the earlier design which could deflect incoming rounds down into the thin armour over the driver's position. Here's the Jagdpanther hull. It has similar engine deck details to the gun tank. You can also see the interlocking armour pieces on the hull clearly moulded on here. Early production Jagdpanthers had a small, almost flush mantlet on the hull around the gun. However, this kit has the larger bolted mantlet adopted later, marking this as a late production vehicle. The engineering of Panther G turret in this kit is interesting. The lower piece fits up inside the upper turret part and includes the rear turret plate. This is pretty simple to fit together. The upper turret piece has the coupler moulded on, so no worries about correct orientation here. This part fits inside the Jagdpanther hull to accept the 8.8cm gun, so make sure you fit it before you glue the hull parts together. The rear hull plate has a large square hole in it. The exhaust piece next door has a big locating block that fits into this. The exhaust is the later shielded type that included a blower fan mounted inside an exhaust tube. Shielded exhausts were designed to eliminate flames and the hot glow of the exhaust pipes, which had been an issue operating Panthers at night. The two cylindrical parts here are containers for the gun cleaning rods. This was normally mounted on the left hull side near the turret, but was moved to the rear of the upper engine deck on very late production Model Gs. You also get a turret peg and another hull machine gun ball mount. As my old granny used to say, you can never have too many ball mounts. The final parts on this sprue are not mentioned anywhere in the modern kit instructions, but they're an IR searchlight mounting and sights. The Sperber night sight system used infrared and was mounted on the commander's cupola, gunner's sight and driver's vision port. It's not clear if this system was ever used operationally, but nice to have it on the sprue. So that's the parts for the Panther Late and Jagdpanther plastic kit from Battlefront. As you can see, it builds up into a nice kit. Moulding is clean and there's more than enough detail on the parts for a 15mm wargaming kit. It is a 10-year-old mould and parts of it were designed to augment resin kits, but it stands up well. There are more parts than you'd get in a modern Battlefront plastic kit, but this gives you lots of spares and options. It's great to have this late variant Panther and Jagdpanther available in plastic again. Speaking of Jagdpanther, how will it do on the table? Here's the Bulge German unit card. Jagdpanther is a Tank-Hunter unit with the Stormtrooper special rule. Stormtrooper means the unit may attempt a second, different movement order after succeeding on its first movement order. For tank destroyers, that might be a blitz out of cover to shoot, and a shoot and scoot to duck back after firing. Of course, if you fail, you're stuck out in the open on your enemy's turn. Motivation is a confident 4+, pretty good. Counterattack is a 5+. These are ambush units best employed at long range, not as assault troops. However, with the fighting leading into Germany, they are well motivated to stick with the fight. They have a last stand of 3+. If you start taking morale tests, they're likely to stick around. Skill level is veteran. These are experienced troops and they pass skill checks on a 3+. But again, their assault rating is 4+. SP guns aren't great in assault. They are careful, hit on a 4+. Jagdpanther's front armour is 9, only slightly less than Panther. Side armour is 5 and top 1. Unlike the Nashorn, Jagdpanther teams the massive 8.8cm gun with some actual armour. Mobility is good with a tactical move of 10 inches or 25 centimetres and a cross of 3+. The 8.8cm gun has a 48-inch or 120cm range. It can really reach out across the table. Halted rate of fire is 2, moving is 1. Anti-tank is 17 with a 3+ firepower. 17 is going to slice through anything, even a Pershing or a Churchill. The only notes are forward firing. Jagdpanther is an SP anti-tank gun with limited traverse, and can only fire at targets fully in front of it. Jagdpanther can be taken in the Jagdpanther Tank-Hunter Company in the Bulge. You have to take a Jagdpanther HQ of 1 or 2 vehicles plus at least one compulsory platoon of 2 to 4. However, the second compulsory platoon can be Jagdpanthers, Hornies, Panzer 470 or Stugs. There's an optional third Jagdpanther platoon plus some AA options to round out the company. The only way to add any infantry to this company is a separate formation or fielding a black box combat unit as a support unit. Jagdpanthers clock in at around 12 points each. This makes them a bit more expensive than Panthers on the table, but they have that extra 3 anti-tank from the 8.8cm gun. So it's a toss-up between Jagdpanthers and Panthers. You get more flexibility with the Panther or SS Panther company lists. The SS Panther list even lets you stick in a couple of Tiger IIs and have some Panzer Grenadiers in the formation. Anyway, that's given you a look at the plastic for the late Panther and Jagdpanther kit for Bulge Germans. It is an older plastic kit, but it still builds up just fine. There are more parts than you'd get with a modern Battlefront kit, and there are parts in this kit designed for resin models, but extra parts can always be useful. My biggest gripe with this kit would be the ejector pin marks on the late pattern side skirts. This is a pain to have to fix, but you can use the earlier pattern skirts or even no skirts at all. Having dug out my old Panther box from my stash, I really want to build a platoon of Jagdpanthers, but the Bulge Panther lists are more flexible. Bulge German really gives German players a ton of options. Allied players will have their work cut out for them, and we'll see a lot of different German units on the table. I'd like to thank 2012 me for buying this box set for review. It only took 10 years to get it done. Hopefully you found it useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.